I am ending every video series in this course with taking a look at a research question that will enable me to write a report that illustrates for you how we use the concepts that we learned in this video series within a research report. And I'm about to do that now. So here is my challenge. I've put it here in bold, right here. The ice cream data were collected in the early 1950s across the United States. Construct a model to predict ice cream consumption. Begin with theoretical ideas and try to create a parsimonious model that is consistent with the data. The technical portion of your report should include details about the selected covariates. Examples of concepts you might discuss include, if applicable, confounding, suppression, or multicollinearity, with accompanying correlations, partial correlations, and or semi-partial correlations to support your model choice and conclusions. You should also consider the possibility that one explanatory variable interacts with, or perhaps is even moderated by, another explanatory variable. Now, if that all sounds familiar, or almost all of it sounds familiar, it is. Everything except that last sentence was my challenge for the previous video series. And in fact, I'm embedding this challenge within the report that I created for the previous video series. What's new is this last sentence, to consider the possibility of interaction. So basically what I am going to do is take my previous report and expand on it to include the possibility of interaction. So I have created this shell for this new report by basically copying over my old report. I'm going to go ahead and take out these instructions now that I know what I'm supposed to do. And everything that we have through here is already done for us in terms of the basics of the report, except that now I want to consider interaction. Now, with all of the statistical analysis that I do, I'm going to consider visual displays, I'm going to consider descriptive statistics, and I'm going to consider inference. Now, the visual displays and descriptive statistics, it's really usually I like to start with visual displays. Sometimes, however, it's easier for me to start with descriptive statistics, as is going to be the case here. Why? Because to construct the visual display, I need the descriptive statistics. So I'm going to look at the descriptive statistics and look over the graph that corresponds to those descriptive statistics, and then we'll move on to inference. Now, the way I laid out the report previously is everything all the way down to about line 78 is actually line 76. Everything down to about there is descriptive. And then I move from there to conditions for valid inference. And then I actually do inferences down after I've checked the conditions for valid inference. So I'm going to go back up here to where I was doing description. And I'm going to start right after that line 76, and I'm going to now start considering the possibility of interaction. Now, to review, assuming you've watched the last video series, I ended up with a model in which I kept two explanatory variables, but the third one I found to be not useful at all. And so I'm not going to bring that third one, which was price of ice cream. I'm not going to bring that back in for consideration here. I'm going to stick with the two variables that I chose for my model, and I'm going to look to see if there's an interaction among those variables. Those variables were income and temperature. Specifically, I want to know if there's a possibility that income is moderating the relationship of temperature to ice cream consumption. So let's look at a picture of what I'm doing here. So I have ice cream consumption as my response variable. And then we think, and we actually saw this was the case when we built the model, that temperature has an influence on ice cream consumption. Not surprising, because indeed we expect that when the temperatures rise, we're more prone to think about eating ice cream. Now the question becomes, is income interacting with temperature? And one way that it could interact would be to moderate temperature. Now, I may not know for sure that this is a moderator, but if it's not a moderator, or if I don't know that for sure, it's a potential moderator. So we would just say it interacts. But if it is a moderator, what I'm looking to see is if the influence of temperature on consumption is moderated by income. And as we've talked about before, when we have a variable here that is at a lower level than the interaction, that is by itself, that we're going to keep it in the model. So that's why I'm drawing this other arrow here to relate income to consumption directly, as well as moderating the effect of temperature on consumption. So this is the picture, and let's go ahead and create a model in which we're looking at interaction. I'm going to create a code chunk here, and then I'm going to create a new model, and I've actually already have done it on the side, and so I'm going to just copy it in, and my new model is going to look like this. So I'm looking here to see if income by temperature, that's the cross product which creates the interaction, whether that's going to be useful in my model. So once I have this, I'll need to get a summary of that. And I'll call it model int for interaction model. Back up here, I called it full model for full model. So let me switch that around and call that interaction model. Just because I'm a little bit picky and I like making things consistent, and up above I called it full underscore model. So here I'm going to call it interaction underscore model. Okay, let's take a look at this. I have to run everything above, and now we should be able to go. There we go. All right, so when we look at this model, here's what I find. I find that this is not very stable, and in fact, look at the coefficient for interaction. It's about 0, 0.00006, and p-value of 0.413. Furthermore, note what happened to these p-values for income and temperature. So I wouldn't mind those p-values for income and temperature if my interaction was very stable and was valuable, but this is not very valuable to my model. I am not seeing much interaction, so I am going to take it out of the model. However, since I was supposed to include a study of interaction, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to say something to the readers about doing a checking for interaction here. So let's add some text. And I've written some text previously, so let me go ahead and add that in. Just to review, when we had the model up here, the one we ended up choosing, that was, let's see, that was this one. Let me go ahead and actually copy it down so that we can look at the two side by side. So one thing I notice here also is that look at the coefficient of determination down here for the model we chose, 0.70. Look at the coefficient of determination here when I add it, the interaction. Anytime you add something, it increases the coefficient of determination, but look at how much it increased it. Almost nothing. These are almost identical. They're just a tiny bit apart. And so that's another compelling reason to not move forward with this. But let's go ahead and write this up for the public. Actually, this is technical part of the report, so we're going to write this up not for the public, but for people who know statistics. So I say temperature and income are not independent in these data. The fact the correlation was 0.32. If we go back up here, temperature and income are correlated. Okay, it's actually negative 0.32, which is what I say here. To determine if these variables interact when predicting ice cream consumption, I added an interaction term to the model. This hardly changed the coefficient of determination and resulted in less stable slope coefficients. Okay, therefore, I do not have evidence of interaction and will remove it from the model. Here is a figure, or no, let me name the figure. Where are we at with figures here? This is figure 1, table 1, so we're at figure 2. That means I need to change the down here, this to figure 3 and so forth, but let's go ahead. So I'm going to say figure 2 Okay, figure 2 illustrates there is little or no interaction. I want you to see how to construct these figures. So I've shown you in a past video, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in the report. Really, if I had found no interaction, I really don't need to include a figure, although I always think that pictures are so meaningful to readers, even technical readers. So I don't think it hurts to put this picture in. So let's go ahead and do it. I'll go ahead and put the code right down here. We can always hide it later on. So let me go ahead and grab the code that I wrote for this. Okay, so what I'm doing here, and I have to change. I'm going to go back up and change this to model int because notice I'd have to change all these. Oh, I can do this. I guess I could do a find and replace, but I have to change all these. So I'm going to change it from model int to int model. So let's see. I want to find model int, and I want to replace it with int model. Okay, that was not thinking ahead. Okay, so here I have this, and notice what I've done is, as I've shown you in past videos, I have the 4 coefficients in my model, the one for income, the one for temperature, then income by temperature. And so what I'm doing here is taking the, first of all, we have the I'm pausing because I'm looking at the order of things here. And yes, it's right. I thought for a moment that it wasn't right, but we have the intercept. Then up here would be the income, And that's what this is. So the income here is $78 per week. Remember, this was the early 50s. Then we have the temperature coefficient along with temperature, which is allowed to vary here. We're only holding constant the income. And then we have in the interaction, we have the coefficient times 78 for the constant income times temperature, and then the same thing down here for 95. Let me go ahead and do the first part of this plot. The first part of this plot is going to give us the line for 78. And I like doing it one at a time to make sure I know which line is which. So this is going to give us the line for when the income is 78. And so we can see the relation of temperature to consumption for individuals who make $78 per week. Okay, and I notice that it's going down here from about 0.25 across the range here to about 0.40. Now let me go ahead and add the other one in, and this one is going to be for 95. Okay, so the one that went to 0.25 to 0.40 is this bottom one. That's the 78. And this top one is the 95. So individuals who make more money are buying more ice cream, but the effective temperature, they're not exactly parallel. They're a tiny bit off parallel, but not nearly enough to consider that that's anything other than chance, that is just a fluctuation that happens from sample to sample. So the slopes are very similar for those two, which is why we're not going to make a big deal of this, and we're just showing the picture to illustrate that there's not much, if any, interaction here. Let me go ahead and use my little text command in order to put these in. So let's see. The 78 was the top one. So let me copy that over. So let's see, where do I want to put that? Maybe up around, maybe around 45, have the middle 45, and up here around 0.45. So on the x-axis about 45, on the y-axis about 0.45. If you're wondering what that CEX does, that's scaling it. It's making the text 70% of what it normally would be, making it a little small text. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, not bad. Maybe I want to come down a little bit. Let me come down to about, let's try 42 and see what that looks like. That's good. And then let's put the next one over here, maybe at around, maybe at around 60, the middle of it around 60, and put it at about 0.3. So let me just copy this. So we're going to go to about 60 and about 0.30. And this one was 95. And let's see how this looks. I want to get it a little bit higher than that. Okay, not bad, not bad. Let me get it let me see if I can go up to 33 without hitting the line. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so that's my little plot. I'm going to go ahead and put these in 2 code chunks so that I don't get this thing happening down here with the output conflicting here with the graph. So it's 2 different things I got to click on. I'm going to put them in 2 code chunks. So let's make that a code chunk. And then let me go ahead and copy this and make this one a code chunk. Okay. And let's see, do I have any pre-written text about this? Yes, I did. So Instead of exploring, I'm going to say to illustrate the interaction or lack thereof. I relate temperature to consumption, holding family income at 78. I need a little slash here because dollar sign's a special character. 95, figure 2 illustrates this relationship. And now I need to put in my little caption for figure 2. I need to hide the code for this, just show nothing. Just run the code. I need to show the output on this one. Show output only. Okay, let me go ahead and capture this figure up here. And let me put it down. Put it down here. And let me put my little 3 slashes that I like to put in to make sure there's enough room. This is figure 2, and figure 2 is relationship of ice cream consumption to temperature for 2 family income levels. Okay. All right, so now I'm just checking everything. I do not have it, and we'll remove it from the model. Figure 2 illustrates there is little or no interaction. Oh, I already said this, so let me move this down here. Figure 2 illustrates that there is little or no interaction. I relate temperature to conceptual Holy Family and then again at 95 per week. And then I don't need that last sentence. Okay. I think we've cleaned it up. Let me go ahead and knit it. So here's the new part right here. Oh, I need to take out that, oh, I got a problem up here too. I just noticed I have headings in addition to captions. I don't want that. Gosh, I wonder if I've done that in any previous reports. I must have done that in my report here for the previous report before putting in interaction. So let me fix that now. So I want my main to say nothing here, and I want my main to say nothing here for figure 2. All right, and do I have that down here? Yes, I have plot of residuals versus fit. Oh, I've been doing this all throughout. Okay. So let's try this. Okay, so here the titles disappeared, which that's a good thing because I have a caption. Now, what I don't like is that it's creating extra space. Let me see if I just took out the word, if I took out the argument for main, if that will fix it. Yes, that's better. Not as much space. Still a lot of space on this one. Let's see if I can see why. That's not obvious to me why, and I'm really not going to worry about it. It's not that big of a thing. But, okay, there's figure 2. Oh, I got to change this to figure 3. And normal QQ plot is in there. I wonder if there's a way of taking that out, because I have that in the heading, in the caption. QQ norm. So this needs to be figure 3. And so I need to change this to figure 3. This needs to be figure 4. That's all good. But now I want to look under help. I'm going to look for QQ norm and see if there is a way to take out that, yeah, there's a main command, and the default is normal QQ plot. So if I put that main command back in and make the default, or not the default, but make it blank, that should take care of it. Let's try it. All right, figure 1 looks good. Figure 2 looks good. Figure 3 looks good. Notice the QQ plot is gone. Figure 4 looks good. I think I'm done. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. I look forward to seeing you in the next video series.